purpose today is to recruit a dream team of schools who who believe in compassion-driven innovation, global collaboration, and STEM learning and programming. So we're kind of doing something new and somewhat different. We do have a project document at the link that I share here, but it's also linked from the top of madaboutmattering.com. So I'm going to go through all the specifications for the project. I'll tell you more about those specifications here in just a minute. But first, I want to turn it over to, we have one of our other lead learners here. We have Alethea Bhatia with us. And Alethea, do you want to give a shout out here for a second?
I would love to. Hello, everybody. Welcome. We're so glad that you're able to join us today or watch this at some later point. Very, very excited about this phenomenal initiative that Vicki has thought up and that Angela and us are helping with and partnering with Vicki on. So we're very excited to be here today, and hopefully you will be one of the special teachers that can work with us on this phenomenal phase 1 of the program so that we can make it even better for the next phase.
Yeah, so we're going to give you an overview. This is really a dream. Now, Angela Myers is not with us tonight. She and Alethea have been talking for at least, I think you said, Alethea, 3 years about what would it look like to have kids create apps that matter to them, but also to do it collaboratively between schools. Now, my name is Vicki Davis. I am a teacher at Westwood Schools in Camilla, Georgia. I teach grades 8, 9, and 10. And I have about 68 9th and 10th graders that I'm putting through this project. So I've designed it for our school. If you're familiar with the Flat Classroom projects, that won the ISTE Online Learning Award in 2006. It was in Thomas Friedman's book, The World is Flat. And I and Lisa Durf with me on most of those projects have created more than 20 different projects, more than 3,000 kids, more than 500 educators have participated in all these different projects. And we've pretty much proven that you can write together, you can create video together, you can build in Minecraft together, you can work in virtual worlds together. But the one piece that's missing is, can we create apps together? And we know we can because we know the adults are doing it. But what we need in STEM, you know, students are the greatest textbook ever written for each other. Something transformational happens when kids connect that you can't get any other way. And we're ready to bring that to engineering and into STEM. So that's kind of the dream. But as Lisa and I were going through this today, just remember that as we talk about this, the emphasis is on transformational learning for kids. This is about the kids, and this is about improving our world and unleashing the beauty and joy of students on the world using technology. It's really a unique approach, and we're very excited about it. So let's dive in, and while we're going, please throw in any questions you have in the chat. You can also go to our website, madaboutmattering.com. Now, there's 2 resources for those of you who do decide to join. One is Liberating Genius. This is a free ebook that you can get from Angela Myers. She's got a best-selling author. She's written passion-driven learning, lots of different books that she's written. But this is a great book to kind of help you understand a little bit about Choose to Matter and how mapping your heartbreak works. Now, the other book is one that I wrote just a little while ago, but it's still very relevant. It's called Flattening Classrooms, Engaging Minds. And in this book, I share this thing called the Flat Classroom Framework. And that is basically, how do you design a global collaborative project? So that will help teachers. It's not required. It will help teachers if they want to kind of get ahead of the game. Otherwise, you'll be trained every week in our weekly teacher meetings. And, you know, Lisa and I have been doing this for a while, so this is kind of something, you know, a horse we ride a lot. So we can take you through it. And Alethea has kind of handpicked a lot of amazing people who are already great with Mad Learn, so I'm really excited about it. So here's some of the things we're going to cover: the project aims, the time frame, so you can see if it fits you and your needs. We realize this is a short time frame, But again, we're looking for a dream team and not necessarily a large dream team. We're going to give you the project outcomes, the team structure, the prerequisites, and how it's structured. So our guiding question to the kids is, what breaks your heart, and how can you use that heartbreak to develop an app that matters to our world? So if you look at the aims, we are using compassion-driven innovation as well as collaborative teamwork to develop apps that matter to the world, with the goal of having at least one of those apps go live on the App Store. Hopefully more. We'll have to see how that works out. We want collaborative social entrepreneurial teams, and we are using leading computer science technology to create apps that tackle important problems to the students. Now, this is a very different part because this is something the students are creating. Believe it or not, it can be challenging, and if you've done work in Genius Hour or some of these other types of things, we'll bring in techniques that you can use with your students. So in some ways, you can kind of look at this as some PD that you'll get as part of this project as well. If you've already done a lot of work with Genius Hour or have, I would love it if you would type it in the chat if you've already done some work with Genius Hour. I see that we have quite a few people already in the room with us, so share that. And if you are applying for the project, share that as well. That'll kind of help us know if we have some people who have a background in Genius Hour or Google 20% Time. This is an interesting one, to develop a network of supporters and investors. Alethea, do you want to talk briefly about number 3 for us?
Absolutely. So as many of you know, the goal with MadLearn specifically is to really enable students to build real products and hopefully to launch them. And so our goal here is to develop a network of mentors, people that are in the industry that the idea happens to be generated within, or just in the technology world in general, and investors that may be interested in actually investing in the idea and helping it, go to the next level of scale. That are enabling really the students to have the wind beneath their wings. So our goal is really to bring those kinds of people together to, again, take the work that our phenomenal, bright students are doing and hopefully help that spread to audiences greater than just our classrooms.
Wow. There we go. So I love that, Alethea, the wind beneath our wings, because that's really what all of us are trying to do here. This is an alpha project, so this is the first time we've run this, and the method that Lisa Durf and I've used in the past with projects is we start small with a small group of excellent world-class educators in schools who get what world-class education is like. We document it, we work through any kinks, and then we unleash to the world a resource that helps others do it. So part of what we do is we want to not just help our students, but we're building a legacy. This is something that's going to live past you, that your name is going to live past you. And I know in the early days of the Flat Classroom projects, those I worked with, I really know those people and they're my friends. And I feel something special happening with this one because we're really moving the next generation of global collaboration. We don't really have any models of collaborative app development yet, and our goal is for this to be the first and to prove to the world that kids can create apps that make a difference in the world in this way. Now, if you're familiar with quad blogging, I'm going to talk more about that in a moment, but we're kind of working on a duplicable model of quad engineering, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But I love this one, to ensure that students are not just consumers of technology, but also creators of that technology. Now, if you can't find the chat, you should be able to point up at the top. Lisa, do you want to go off mic and tell us how to find the chat real quickly? I know some people want to chat questions.
If you just take your mouse and hover around the bottom of your screen, you should see a little bubble that says chat, kind of like in the middle. If you would just click on that, it will open it for you, and then you can type into that any questions you have. Every tool you use, usually you have to figure out how to use it. And we did too. Bye.
Okay. Okay. So what is quad engineering? Kids have been writing together for some time using quad blogging. I don't own the license to that. None of us do. It's a method of blogging where you have 4 classrooms. In the first week, 1 classroom blogs and the other 3 comment, and then you rotate classrooms. And it's just a simple way of building an audience. So we're working on what we're calling quad engineering, that whatever tool kids are using, that they can engineer and create together. But what we have to do is we have to take the project management skills that Alethea and her team spread around the world, and any of us, like Lisa and I, are half a country apart. We know how to build this collaborative environment where we use tools to bridge it, but we haven't brought this project-based toolkit to kids yet. So that's what we're doing with this project, is taking the best and brightest from Silicon Valley, and agile software development is a word you can use, and showing that we can do it with kids of all ages. So our website, our primary website is madaboutmattering.com. That is also where the kids will be blogging. Our wiki is madaboutmattering.wikispaces.com, and we're working on that right now. The application form is on the madaboutmattering.com website. I believe it's at the top there. If you think, yeah, this is for me, I want to get in, you know, at some point we'll say, okay, we've got who we need, and we're going to move ahead, and we're kind of letting people self-select themselves. Who are the best and brightest? You know, the best and brightest are on top of their email and keen and excited and have kind of a fire in the belly, as we say in the South, that they really are eager about helping kids and being on the leading edge. So let's go through our timeline and see what fits. Now remember, this is the proposed timeline. Once the teachers are selected, or as you apply, if you'll say, you know, Vicki and Alethea and Angela, my spring break is such and such a time, or I need to take a break for testing, or this or that. We'll look at all of that, and Lisa and I are used to kind of juggling times based around that, because that's typical for schools around the world. So right now we're in pre-project. This is our information meeting, application and selection. You can go ahead and apply as soon as you're ready. And then teacher onboarding. That's Lisa Durf. She was my administrative assistant when she's waving. When I was working with Black Classroom, and now she is my right-hand woman and does amazing stuff. So she's going to be helping all the teachers get up on the tools. Once you're signed up and say yes, and you're committed, and we've, you know, said you're a good fit and all that, she'll immediately get you on the wiki and we'll onboard you. So we'll get you joined to everything and get you going. And that'll happen pretty quickly once we're ready to go. Handshake is a term that we pretty much invented in the global collaborative projects that we worked with, and we found that it takes time to get kids joined and teachers joined to everything. So you can't just start at 60 miles an hour. You have to hit the accelerator and take your car engine up gradually. So we like to have at least a week for handshake. The keynote will go up from Angela Myers onto YouTube. We may choose to do it live, depending on where our classrooms are. We'll have our first teacher kickoff meeting and our first student reflective blog post sometime that week. That'll kind of be our signal that we've got things going. And they'll reflect on Angela's keynote. It kind of helps to get everybody on the same page, help them relax, help them start responding to each other's work. And then we go to the internal pitch phase. Now, your kids are not going to start off right out of the gate doing a lot of collaboration. They're going to be coming up with ideas at their local schools. They're going to be mapping their heartbreak. They'll be posting those ideas with your guidance to the wiki. And then we're in the process of working on a voting process to select the ideas that move forward. Now, we'll tell you more about this process. I used MadLearn this past year from December of 2014 to May of 2015 when I had Alethea down to my school and we did a Shark Tank. So last year I didn't do any global collaboration because my goal was to learn MadLearn and to perfect a process that could be taken to go global and to collaborate. So I've kind of got a system that works for that pitching process internally that I want to teach the schools of how to do it. There is a pretty simple way of getting those selections and moving forward. So that's your internal phase. That's pretty much the month of February. Then in phase 2 is kind of the month of March. And again, we're going to have to work around spring breaks and testing because a lot of that starts happening in March and April. But that's when we've projected to do the global collaborative app development. The goal is to have at least 2 kids from each school on each team. So there's a way to have a team, what we call make, where you have a certain number of signups. So we'll also start using the project management tool and train the kids on how to use that. We're talking about Trello or Asana. We'll figure out which one that is. Team mentorship begins. So the teams will get mentored. But then also the kids that end up as leaders of these teams will get some special leadership training using videos that we'll record and we'll share with the world. So one thing we're doing throughout this process is we're creating screencasts and recordings, and we're hoping that some of the teachers who join will also be good with screencasting and recording. If that is something you can do, if you want to share that that's a skill set, that would be helpful. But we want to release this and have all this documentation on the wiki so that other people can just pick up and say, okay, here's leadership training on how do you manage software development when you have kids in 4 different places. How does that work? And they can use these videos wherever they are and whoever they are to do that. So that will be phase 2. And then we enter the final phase of the project. There'll be kind of a transition period where some teams may choose to reorganize. We as the teachers may see that some teams don't have strong leadership, or the kids may say, oh, I'd really rather work with that team. You'll see by that stage, and Lisa and I have seen this a lot, that some leaders will really set themselves apart as these kids are really moving forward, and some will be struggling and they'll be looking for an out. So we want to set the kids up to win, not that we have to, but we want to have good, strong leadership and good, strong teams. So we have a week built in for some reorganization. And in the final app development, we may end up with 3 to 4 kids from each school per app at that point, because we have to build the apps out completely. And we'll be able to test those on the Mad Learn store. They'll be writing together. Some of the kids will be making app trailers. If you don't have any video experience, don't worry. My students are trained in video, and I'm prepared to have my kids shoot all the trailers, unless there's some kids in other classrooms who do know how to do video, and then that'll be collaborative piece too. That's just completely optional. We'll have more mentorship, we'll have more feedback, so that by the first week of May, we will have live online competition. We're not really calling it Shark Tank, but that's kind of like what it is, where the kids will be presenting their apps to the world. We've got some really exciting judges. I'm not going to say who yet, because I have to tell Alethea who some of them are. She knows some. But I think some very exciting judges will be announced for the kids to have exposure to. And that'll be very exciting. They'll get their feedback. We'll have global voting as well as judges. Some of our judges, we have to have global voting. So that's got to be a component of that. We'll talk more about that later for those who join. And so everything will be ready. And the second week of May, after we go through that process, students will be able to present online. And that's an important part of my own curriculum, is that students present. You are not required. That's an optional, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a minute. And students can do their post-project reflection, and then we will have post-project surveys so that we can learn and say, okay, how can we scale this up? So if we're doing this with, say, 4 schools this time, or maybe we have 8, or maybe we have 12, we're going to see how many quads we have of really keen, excited teachers for this. But then what would it look like if this happened with 400 kids or 800 kids or 8,000 kids? How can this scale up, and how can we do some really powerful things? So I think this is going to be a really special process for us. So again, the caveat, the timeline may change. And we say 3 classrooms here. 3 is kind of our minimum. I'll do it with 1 other classroom. If we have a jam-up teacher in a school who gets 21st century, But I think that we'll probably have quite a few more because I know Alethea's getting lots of email. So we'll work with it and see what happens there. So a couple points that I just want to make. One of our secrets to success is the weekly teacher meetings. These are recorded and sent to all teachers. We're all very busy people. We all have classes, totally get that and know how to work with it. But you do have to watch the meeting if you cannot attend. If this is something you cannot do, then you need to just say, you know what, this is not for me. Because when you're doing a project like this, back when we had done flat classrooms 7 or 8 times, I could send a teacher a kit, they could come to 1 or 2 meetings, and they could just crank through that project. We are on the bleeding edge. And I always tell my students, we live on the bleeding edge of my class. Sometimes we lead, sometimes we bleed, but we always learn. And that's where we are doing something special and something different. We will have these meetings weekly for the first 5 to 6 weeks, but one thing you'll learn about me is I don't meet if we don't have a reason. And we start on time. We like to end early. That's just in Lisa's nod her head. She's been working with me a very long time, and we just don't have time to waste. We're too busy. The other thing is you need to make sure you read your email. Make sure you can get messages from me and the other project organizers. Sometimes you have to go and have a discussion with the Barracuda firewall and say, okay, you need to let these emails through. Communication is key, and we'll have Skype IDs and all that sort of thing that'll go along with it. Now, our communication methods, we have the wiki. We'll be blogging on WordPress using madaboutmattering.com, and for right now, make sure you put a www in front of that Mad About Mattering. We will have a hashtag on Twitter, which hopefully we'll announce by the end of this week. We will have a project management tool. The teachers will probably also have a Skype group, or we'll use Slack. We'll use some tool that we can message each other instantly that we have to make sure what all the teachers have access to. So, and then a Zoom room like this that you'll be able to come in and meet and present and share and do really cool stuff. This room records, and we'll be able to put it to video and put it up on the YouTube channel and that sort of thing. So, what generation? Now, we are seeking qualified interest in highly motivated schools led by incredible teachers who understand the 21st century and what we're trying to be here. If you've read my blog, the Cool Cat Teacher blog, if you've read any of my books, Reinventing Writing or Flattening Classrooms, Engaging Minds, you'll know that I am committed to have my students have the best technology education in the world that can be had. So that's what you're going to be part of. I have very high expectations for them. So if you have high expectations for your students, and they do not have to be perfect, you can have kids with learning differences. I am passionate about accommodating for every child. We have had kids with significant autism on projects. We will accommodate and we will adjust for kids with special needs because they are a very important part of the education system in our schools. We will definitely have one projects running kids age 13 through 18. If there are enough highly qualified, highly motivated elementary schools to run an elementary school quad, we will have to tweak the tools because we've got other legal requirements with COPPA and other things. For those kids, we're very familiar with those, but we will kind of need a lead teacher that says, hey, I kind of want to be the lead teacher for elementary and that sort of thing. And don't worry, they'll be included in everything, and you know, we know how to coach you with that. We're just trying to look and see, engage interest with that. So the lead teacher right now for age 13 through 18 quad is me. Age 12 and under quad, we're looking and seeking one. It just helps to have a teacher. I will be involved in those meetings every week, but it just helps to have a teacher who's in the project who can bring stuff to the forefront. So you would just be working closely with me and learn lots. We'll also have mentors, leadership and project management mentors. You will have project managers or PMs and assistant project managers, APMs, and they will learn lots. This is a method we developed on the NetGen Ed project that we co-created with Don Tapscott, who's written lots of best-selling books. And this leadership strand really works well, and it gives those kids who are used to making 100 some really fantastic leadership training. In fact, it's kind of legendary at my school, and I've already got kids brainstorming saying, you know, I want to have a team that I can be the project manager or the assistant project manager. I mean, Alethea has seen them. They take it really seriously, and it's such a great opportunity for kids to be able to go to college and say, I managed a global team and we created an app. I mean, for your top level kids, I had a kid on the First Flat Classroom project that got a scholarship because she had managed a global team, and that was just writing on a wiki. Could you imagine what developing an app would do? Then we have coaches. These are online mentors that will kind of coach things, but then we also have technical coaches from Alethea's team. So we've got collaborative coaches, which is kind of me and Lisa. We've got business coaches, which Angela Myers is bringing in with our mentors, and she knows some amazing people. There's no telling what mentors we'll get for that. And then we've got the technical coaches from Mad Learn, and they're fantastic. So I'm going through the rest of this information here so that you can kind of see, okay, what resources are kids going to use on their learning pathway? We will be creating YouTube videos and tutorials all the way through. You have all the Mad Learn resources and help files. But also, I teach with the in-flip method of teaching. That means it's like flipped classroom, but they're watching the videos in class. I'm in a very rural community. My kids don't have computers at home, a lot of them. So you will have access to all of those videos. So if you're, like struggling with a wiki, you can just use Vicki's wiki video and just use that, or use any of the tools. So I'll have lots of tutorials for you guys. We will have a hashtag on Twitter to connect with the world. The kids will be taught to seek out experts, and then they'll have assigned mentors. And again, guys, if you have any questions, just throw those in the chat. I'll be addressing those in just a moment. So what's our learning legacy? What are we leaving behind when we're done? Because kids are tired of wastebasket work. We know that global audience improves student writing. We know that it improves student performance in all areas. Each student will have 3 reflective blog posts. There is an optional post-project post in May that will become a permanent part of the project. We can turn on pre-moderation if we need to. Hopefully, I don't pre-moderate my students because I've already taught them how to blog. Younger students, we're going to have to do things a little differently with them if we build a quad there. Each student will work with their apps. They'll also create ancillary materials, trailers, and they may have flyers and all other kinds of things they have with it. Each team will have an app trailer, and again, I'm prepared to do that from my classroom, but hopefully we'll have some other classrooms that can do some video. Now, the students will be able to collect screenshots of work for their portfolio. I highly suggest that every student in a 21st century school have a portfolio or a personal website. So they'll get lots of great screenshots of their work. And at the end, they'll be presenting online in the Student Summit. That's something you can invite your parents, your community. You send press releases. That's always a big deal. We've had people have governors attend their student summits. So it's a cool thing to have at the end. Now, what learning legacy are the teachers leaving behind? Well, we as teachers are here on a mission, and our goal is not just to make our classrooms better and to have a world-class education system for our own children, but a lot of us believe that we want to leave and share these best practices for the whole world. So our goal is to have a quad app programming kit online using the wiki. It's not going to be any extra work. We're just going to create like crazy as we go, and then we'll be able to package that together for other teachers. We're also going to document and create best practices for scaling up this model. I'll have classes next year and then the next year to go through it. And again, Leafy, I've never had 1,000 kids on a big project like this, so that would be cool at some point. Yeah. Yeah,
you can absolutely do it.
Yeah, we just got to work it out with the small and the best and the brightest that we're trying to recruit right now. Anyway, so learning legacy, I've already shared that. There we go. Curriculum integration. So when you're selling this to your school, if you look on the project document, if you are Common Core Standards, I've given you the Common Core Standards. I've also given you the ISTE-NET standards for those of you who have to align your curriculum. That project document is at the top of www.madaboutmattering.com. But we will be doing a lot of writing, a lot of computer science and agile software development. Agile software development is the key word that you want to use. This is the leading, bleeding edge of software development. It's how it's done now. It's still pretty new. So a lot of the technology standards don't even mention this term, but look it up. You can also look up the word Kanban, Kanban, which is related to Agile software development. Your project managers and assistant project managers will get leadership training in team management, technology, and global collaboration skills. We're also tying in Choose to Matter, Genius Hour, and social entrepreneurship. Student-centered, student-led projects will be solving problems that break their heart. They will be social entrepreneurs. Some schools have social entrepreneurship requirements. You've got collaborative skills, lots and lots of collaborative skills, and you can point to my book, Flattening Classrooms, Engaging Minds, as well as Reinventing Writing. Both of those books have been recognized as great books for the leading bleeding edge of global collaboration and what it should look like. Online presentation skills, which a lot of schools have presentation skill requirements. Very few have online presentation skill requirements, and they should have it, but they don't. Digital filmmaking, you can integrate that with it if you choose to have some kids participate in the app trailer part. And then you've got web design for their web pages or their wiki pages. Now, depending on what they pick, say a group picked recycling. If they pick recycling, they're going to have science. If they pick comparing history books around the world to try to understand history, they're going to have history. There's no telling what other interdisciplinary that they will select. It just depends upon their heartbreak. They may have cultural issues. They may have government issues. Lots of other things that they could have in here in their curriculum. Now, this project will be in English. But, you know, we've worked in projects before where we had kids who had English as a second language. There are things that we can do. You just need to identify those kids, and there's some ways we can work with them. Teachers should be familiar with wikis and blogs somewhat. If not, you need to let us know. We'll give you a crash course. Honestly, if you're doing Mad Learn, I would be shocked that wikis or blogs will be that hard for you to learn because you're already doing some great things. Students should be trusted to write and blog in a public forum. Again, elementary kids will have to treat them differently depending on how many quads we have sign up there. Older students may be allowed to use Twitter to communicate if you choose, but we would like all the classrooms to share on Twitter to the hashtag what's going on in their classroom, because we do want to help people understand that kids can make a difference in the world and they can use the same methods that Silicon Valley uses to create apps themselves. Project managers and assistant project managers may benefit from having online resources at home. And if they're going to work on the trailer, prior digital filmmaking would be very helpful, which all of my students have had. Required outcomes. There's only, well, 3, I guess. App pitch and app development. They'll all have to participate in that. And 3, reflective blog posts. Those are the required outcomes of the project. The other things that are optional outcomes that we would like for everybody to do, but one thing that Lisa and I learned in our projects before is you want to cut it down to the minimum of we have to do this because you all have different requirements and different vacation schedules and testing and such. Optional is students responding to the project keynote with a blog post and interacting with Angela online and social media. Optional is the Student Summit. Rarely have I ever seen anybody opt out of that, but that happens sometimes. And the post-project blog post reflection is also optional, but we would love to have that happen as well. So team structure, in February, the teachers were somewhat leaders, and you may have some project managers and that sort of thing, but by March, we'll have project managers, we call them PMs, assistant project managers who are APMs. They will be using collaborative tools to communicate. They'll share their initial pitches on the wiki. They'll create a collaborative mind map for their wireframe, and we have a collaborative tool picked out. They'll have a project management tool, which we'll use to teach them Agile software development, or Kanban. And they'll be using Mad Learn by Chris Arons as their app development tool. So that is going to be the big part of what they're doing, obviously, because this is Mad About Mattering, and we're developing apps. So that's going to be their big part. And they'll also have their mentors that they'll communicate with in a guided way. So our plan, hopefully, is to have a 1-hour session with their mentor at one point, and then to exchange information and to get some feedback. So it won't be like that mentor is a day-to-day, all the time that if we have some of the people that I think Angela is working on, it would be an incredible experience for these teams. So what are our required inputs? This is what every participant is expected to contribute. And again, if we have special needs kids, we do work to adjust this. We just have to communicate among teachers. Collaboration on a pitch. They need to collaborate on an initial pitch and add their portion of work to the wiki. They will need to share their interest on which team they want to join. We don't assign teams. Students say, hey, I'd like to be on this team. But they're also pitching the project manager. If that project manager looks and sees that this kid hadn't contributed at all, they may not really want that person on their team. So there's kind of a little bit of give and take. There are times we have to say, okay, you're going to have this person on your team, but it's a little bit of reality for kids to realize that if they don't communicate online, they're invisible and they don't exist to their partners. They are expected to communicate their work on Trello each day once they get going in March so that their project managers know what they're doing. That's a big part of it. And we'll teach you the habits. There are habits that kids will have to have at the beginning and the end of class. We'll teach you those, depending on how many times you have class. Sometimes people will have one big block once or twice a week. I have my kids every day for 50 minutes. It just depends upon your setup and how that works. Optional inputs are the leadership training and all the technical resources we'll have for you. You may not need them. You may need them. You may even want to help create them, and we hope you will. For assessment, rubrics for evaluation will be developed by Mad About Mattering App Competition Leadership Team. So that will be for the final competition in May. But teachers, we will co-develop rubrics for blogs and other materials, but we're not starting from scratch. I have tons of rubrics that I've used before with Black Classroom and Reinventing Writing, and we have all these rubrics. But we have to be sensitive to individual school needs and individual teacher preferences, because we're inventing something new here. So we need to level up. We don't need to just take some old canned rubric we've used before. We need to take input from all the teachers and level it up. So the big thing now that we've gotten through the material is to realize that we are in alpha mode. And those of you who are working with Mad Learn, you've probably taught your students the difference between alpha testing and beta testing and how that works. So this is, I have not recruited like I did for prior projects where I went on my blog and I said, hey, everybody in the world, join in. We're not ready for that. We want people who are already familiar with Mad Learn, and Alethea has sent emails out to many of the best of you, and we are ready to bring what we've learned from 20 different collaborative projects, what Alethea has learned, what Angela has learned, and we can't underestimate the importance of what Angela Myers and Choose to Matter bring into this project. Angela is so well connected with all of these business leaders in Silicon Valley, just like Alethea is. That's going to be a whole other element. And I'm glad we don't have all the names for you yet, because there might be some people who participate just because of the names. And we don't want that. We want people who really want to focus on the kids, and then we'll just wait and see what happens, and hopefully some exciting things will happen on that front. Now, at this point, I want to turn to Alethea before we go to our questions, so that, Alethea, you can share anything that I have left out and I can breathe.
Thank you, Vicki. That was wonderful. And I hope the folks that are here with us live today have some great questions for Vicki, or have learned a lot through this info session. And also those of you that will watch later, I know that this is a phenomenal initiative, and we're so excited to be a part of it. So please do let us know what questions you have, how we can assist in helping you figure out if this is the right fit for you. As Vicki mentioned in her timeline, this is something that we are launching alpha mode this semester, and we recognize that the timeline and the time frame is short, or shorter than maybe typical. But hopefully we can launch this in the next week and have our final set of 1 or 2 or 3 quads that are going to be a part of this alpha. So we're very, very excited, and please do let us know how we can help and what questions you have for us.
So let's say what's next, and we will finish up this recording here. So the next step is to go to www.madaboutmattering.com And at the top, I believe, is Alethea at the top where they type in their name and their email, and then they'll get information with a form? Wait, hold on, Alethea. There you are.
If you scroll down towards the middle of the page, there's a sign up button, and that actually pops up a little bit of a detailed registration form. And those are questions that we are asking our teachers who are interested in participating to fill out. It'll help us as the Mad About Mattering team to identify teachers that are interested and learn a little bit more about your background, and for Vicki and Angela to be able to see that as well. So if you do scroll down to the middle of the page, there's a red button there that says sign up now, and that is your registration form.
Okay, are you seeing that on my screen or not? Is it showing?
We are, yep.
Yeah, there we are. So this is where you're going to click sign up now, and then you'll fill out the information form, and we ask for information about it, and there you go. Any other questions that we have before we conclude? Because I think we're about ready to be finished here.